Okay, I just wondered, was he gonna be here or not? I mean, we got it all in front of us, I know that. I'm curious. Going back, or are you done?
No, I gotta go to the courthouse.
Do you?
Gotta mess with, our favorite person that, our favorite
You're being
developer
re-
that misses land. in-
Stephanie, we're recording, just so you know. Just,
No, we're recording.
just an FYI.
Yeah, I don't say that. When I go on, leave, go from mom business, my mom's getting bad.
Yeah.
Or so do they. Well, some don't take a mess instead of just crying.
No, no.
Always him.
Hmm.
Oh, is he? Give him a call, maybe you can find it.
It's not a bad idea.
Yeah, yeah, he might help. I got mine on 5-3, so. I always try not to forget that, you're gonna ring in the middle.
It's not so bad unless you have some kind of offensive ringtone.
Yeah. Don't play Dixie, play with me.
Right. There it is.
Find it?
All right, I'll call this special called meeting of the Kingston City Council to order. I'd like to ask everyone to please stand. Mr. Brown would lead us in the invocation. Ms. Humphries lead us to the pledge of the flag.
Prayer us, please. Heavenly Father, again, we thank you for a beautiful day. We thank you for the opportunity to live in a country full of trees, meet as a body, to do business in the city of Kingston. We'd ask that you help us make the right decisions for the city. That you be with us, lead, guide, and direct us, and give you the praise. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Councilmember Brown.
Present.
Councilmember Childs. Councilmember Griffiths.
Present.
Vice Mayor Humphries.
Present.
Councilmember Stockton. Councilmember Wright.
Present.
Mayor Neal.
Present. Do we have any citizens that wish to address the council? If there are, please come up here to the front, state your name and address. All right. Seeing none, we'll go straight into new business. Item A is consideration to rescind the motion authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with Train for lighting improvements at Southwest Point ball fields. Do I have a motion to rescind the motion we did last Tuesday?
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Mr. Griffiths, second by Ms. Humphries. Mr. Griffiths, anything? Ms. Humphries?
Just open for discussion.
Anybody else got anything?
For discussion?
Yeah.
Yes. Mr. City Manager, I just want to make sure that Train's response, the email that they sent, that all the points that they made in their email, that we have those covered.
That
As far as procurement, warranties.
I mean, I can't answer. I mean, from a legal standpoint, I mean, I can't give you legal advice as to far. I mean, I sent. You know, we have REU's response. I don't know. I guess I'm not 100% sure how to answer that question.
Okay.
I mean, we think based on what we know. I mean, we don't foresee any issues. But again, it's not.
Okay.
Not 100% that deep into it yet, I guess, is what I'm trying to say in terms of anything else, you know, negotiate any kind of negotiations with somebody else. So,
Okay.
We really.
I just want to make sure there's no hidden costs that they didn't make us aware of.
Well, and that's what we would find out. That's what we would find out if some kind of action comes out of B. But before
Okay.
we get through A,
Okay.
I haven't been instructed to dive too deep into this. So.
Okay. All right.
Any other discussion?
Well, my main thing for a minute is, like Becky said, open it for discussion, and so far I see on that where we should save money. So if we come to that conclusion, I'm definitely for what's best for the city.
Well, and again, you know, I'm trying to, you know, specifically the way the agenda is, separate the two issues.
Okay.
You know, there is a possibility that there's a better, more affordable way to do this project, but the first action is
Okay.
to rescind that, and
So we
then
need to
we
vote
can
on it.
then we can dive into
Okay.
to the second part. But
Any other discussion? Madam Clerk, call the roll on the rescinding the motion.
Councilmember Brown?
Yes.
Councilmember Childs?
Yes.
Councilmember Griffiths?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Humphreys?
Yes.
Councilmember Wright?
Yes.
Mayor Neal?
Aye.
6 ayes.
Item B is consideration of proposal submitted by REU to contract with Musco and Progression Electric for lighting improvements at Southwest Point ball fields. I hear a motion to get into this with Rockwood Electric.
Mayor, if I could,
Yes.
before anything's put on the floor, just give you a little background, and obviously you've seen a lot of emails going back and forth. You know, this started timing-wise, unfortunately, about 2 hours after your meeting Tuesday night. But, you know, to go back, looking at the history of this, you know, we were talking about ball field lights before we ever started talking about street lights. So, you know, we were in conversations with REU before we ever met Train, ever met Path. So, you know, it was the original project, and then in my eyes, they were parallel projects. You know, we originally talked to REU about doing this as they've done all of our other ball fields. And, you know, the historical procedure would be REU would do it, and they would capitalize the expense, basically add it to our bill. And Kendall told us, you know, a year or two ago they couldn't do that anymore because they didn't have the capital to do it. So, you know, that kind of took REU out of the equation at that point and left us to the point of, okay, how are we going to pay for this? So as we were looking at that, that's when the streetlights came up. We started talking to Path, we started talking to Train, and then you know, they kind of merged, thinking, well, this may be a way to do this and also pay for this. Now, again, as a third step into that, you guys refinanced that debt and added some capital funding, which brought us back to, okay, we got a way to pay for this now. We don't have to roll it in to this project. So, you know, yes, they were together in terms of what Train submitted, but they could also be completely separate, and in doing this, if we look at doing something other than train, it doesn't take anything else off the table, at least in my eyes, and I think in ours. These are two separate pieces. We do have the proposal from Musco and Progression that they gave REU. In the approach to that, and in talking with REU, I think we're in agreement that the cleanest way to do this is for REU to negotiate with Musco and Progression as their suppliers, and then REU bill us. We would pay REU. Again, they're our lighting provider, and so we would pay them for that. But again, that's however you want to go. We've had this. I know we've had this thrown in our lap, and it's going to take some more discussions with REU to cross all the T's and dot all the I's. But at least on face value, we have something that looks pretty appealing. So, thank you.
So do we have any kind of motion to put on the floor?
Mr. Mayor, would this, now has REU approved that they would do this? Because I don't think it's been back to the board at REU on it yet. REU did issue for me and Kendall to come back with what we would be proposing.
Well, I thought the board had already approved that before.
That was just for us to come forward to see what we could work out.
Okay.
So I don't know, if it's not come back to the board, to my knowledge, for approval for us to go ahead and do this. I mean,
In my talks with Kendall, I don't know. He never mentioned any action with the board. I would think if this is something you want to look into, probably the logical first step is just to authorize me to engage REU more formally in conversation and working toward this. And I don't think anybody's ready to lock anything in at this point. But
when Kendall came, and before it was with Rockwood Electric doing their work, their workers. But now that they're going to do something else with it, with contracting out to an outside contractor.
And
that
would be a question for him if this even requires their board to act. It may not.
Okay, I didn't know. I just asking. When do they meet? Be next month.
I would assume by him submitting this that
I'm sorry, next Thursday.
that he doesn't have that it wouldn't. But I don't know if when they've done when they did Porter Park, I don't know if that took board action or if they just did it.
It probably only comes up in front of them if it's an expenditure of their own funds.
Yeah.
Right, which Porter Park would have been because they did it.
They
all.
capitalized it.
Right.
Yeah, correct.
Right.
So.
It'd be the 18th.
But if you all act in some capacity to continue this, there'll be a lot of more questions to ask and things for us to work through. So I can ask that as well. But it's kind of in my eyes, if REU is running point on this, they've had it engineered. They know what needs to go in there, just like at Porter Park. They told us what we needed, and we said, okay, do it, and we paid them for it. So to me, it would be a similar thing. It's just a difference in the way we're paying them.
Right. I think that's it. That they're going to really not do anything but be the middleman.
Yeah, they've talked. They've had conversations, obviously, with their contractor, with their lighting supplier, and they know what we need. They know what we want, and so they've submitted a proposal as here's what we'll offer, here's what we'll give you, and you have that in your packets. You have the lighting package, you have the contractor, what the contractor intends to do, and those wouldn't be contracting with us.
No.
But, you know, REU and Progression Electric and Musco know better than the city of Kingston does as to what it needs to be to light ball fields up to TOSWA standards. So, you know, they're gonna tell us what we need, like I said, just like they did with Porter, and I'm sure everywhere else. I mean, that's what we rely on them for, so.
So is that something that you can get on the agenda for Thursday night, Councilman Childs?
Yes.
In the meantime, do we need to make a motion for the city manager to start discussions with REU on these proposals?
I have a motion to start, city manager to start discussions with RUs on these proposals. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Thank you for putting that on the floor. Yes, and yeah, I mean, I'm sure they can do it Thursday night, their meeting. But by then, you know, Mr. Bowling should have everything kind of worked out with Kendall about what's going to happen and go from there.
Now, is this something that you all feel needs to come back before council?
I don't, unless anybody else does, unless it's just a big difference in the price change that we've got already.
I mean, I don't remember council approving the lighting specifically at Porter Park or anywhere else we've had REU put up lighting for us, but it's whatever you all think. I just need to know how far you want me to go in this. I mean, if REU says, here's what we can do it for, I mean, it's pretty black and white. The only question in which Kendall addressed, you know, and he even mentioned in the Progression quote that there's utility charges are not included in that, and Kendall said what that means, but you know, there is some work that REU will have to do. Kendall said it'll be minimal. We're not talking a bunch of money, so that will be above and beyond. You know, that'll be a little above and beyond what Progression quoted, but you know, we don't know what that is until they actually get in here. But I mean, they're gonna have. He told me some of the things. I mean, they're gonna have to. Let me see if I can. If you give me just a second, I don't want to misquote him, because I asked him. I said, "What is this extra utility charges?" And I've got so many emails about this today. So let's see. So he says, one thing I want to remind you of, and I can't say it enough, there are costs which will have to be added to Progression's proposal for getting the power from the overhead line out along the highway to the new service equipment, and also modifying the power supply to your maintenance building and bathrooms after that overhead high voltage line is removed from along the third base side of the baseball field. Depending on how you choose, overhead or underground, or a combination of two, there's probably going to be trenching, boring across the parking lot, conduit, backfill, etc. If underground, then a pad will need to be poured for the transformer somewhere near the new batting facility. I will exhaust all the possibilities to get a transformer regardless of the route you take, even if only temporary, to get you through the season. You know, we'll work with you for whatever you choose to do. It won't be a staggering number, but it is one you'll have to allow for. So at some point there will be a cost for what work that REU has to do. But
Which I think that would have been either way.
yeah, it would. It absolutely would. And we just don't know what that is yet. But again, you know, this is something that we're gonna certainly continue talking about if you all instruct me to go that direction. So.
Does
anybody have anything else?
Yes, if we go this route, how much longer of a delay will it be? Will it be any more delay if we did use train?
Well, we have so the contractor that REU has talked to has also guaranteed that they can have it done by mid-March if we get them engaged quickly. You know, I don't know definitively what quickly is, but it's something we're going to have to greenlight them.
Because it's not in their proposal.
Pretty quick, no,
Right.
not a firm date, but there will be some. And Kendall told me today he was going to try to reach out to them to see what the you know, what the drop dead, we have to know by this day, but, you know, assuming that we make a decision soon, which was the same thing with train, they will guarantee a mid-March completion date, so.
Anything else? Madam Clerk, call the roll, please.
Councilmember Brown?
Yes.
Councilmember Childs?
Yes.
Councilmember Griffiths?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Humphries?
Yes.
Councilmember Wright?
Yes.
Mayor Nail?
Aye. Nothing else coming before this meeting is adjourned.
So I will interpret that as, you know, obviously you've got these numbers in front of you. I mean, I guess we'll just have to see as far as if something needs to come back before council